So Virtu really is kind of the accumulation of my growth over the last 8 years. A lot goes into that because my approach has changed, my views have changed. I've learned and grown as a trainer, as a practitioner, as a person over the last 8 years. And that was really what went into the whole idea of rebranding from Andrew Baker Fitness into Virtu. It was this transition from a fitness brand into a lifestyle brand, but what we're really trying to capture is the change in approach. And in order to really illustrate that, I kind of have to share my story. How I got into the fitness industry was actually through athletics. So I played basketball in high school. I loved basketball. I had never really worked out, and I think it was about grade 11, so probably 17 years old. My goal was now to try to get a scholarship and try to play in university. And the main comment that I was receiving from all of my coaches and from like university coaches was, you understand the game really well, you're pretty skilled, you work really hard, but you need to improve your athleticism. You need to get faster, you need to get stronger in order to play at the next level. So I was very dedicated. Pretty much right away, I was like, okay, I'm gonna figure out what gym I'm gonna go to, and I'm gonna train to start getting more athletic so I can make it to the next level. I ended up playing in university for a little bit, but kind of quickly turned down this fitness path. For me, I started to love training, and it was getting to the point where at the time I didn't want to admit it, but I would look more forward to the training sessions than I would look forward to actually playing basketball. In the gym, you get what you put in. You can really control the outcome a little bit more. Obviously, genetics still come into play, but the progress that you make in the gym is going to have a direct correlation to the work that you put in. That resonated with me from a young age. When I stopped playing basketball, I knew that I loved training, and I was like, okay, well, let me see if I can make a career out of this. I had a couple mentors at the time that were ex-NFL, CFL athletes that had started doing exactly that. So I started interning for them, and that eventually kind of grew into a job. But there was always this idea in my head that I wanted to train athletes and I wanted to work with athletes. That was what I was really passionate about. And they kind of put in my head that, okay, well, that's what everybody wants to do, but training personal training clients is what pays the bills. It was kind of like I had this idea that you work with personal training clients in order to stay open, and that allowed you to create this avenue where you could also work with athletes. So I worked with athletes at that time in my life, but I also really started to start training personal training clients, and I really enjoyed that too. But I was still kind of holding on to this idea or this vision that like one day I was going to be like a strength coach for a pro team or like a university team, or have my own athletic complex that all these different athletes came into. I worked there for 5 years, and I got a lot of experience training individual training clients, training athletes, training different groups. And then I actually moved to Toronto, and I started working at this gym that was strictly personal training clients. That taught me a lot because that was like a really successful business in Toronto. It was a great experience for me. I missed training athletes, but I was really enjoying my time there, and I was enjoying working with personal training clients because that was always an aspect of the job that I liked. I never had this notion that I was just going to train athletes. I always wanted to also work with everyday clients. And then COVID happened, and the opportunity arose to go to the States and intern under some strength coaches. So I jumped on that opportunity, and I went to go intern and kind of learn from a bunch of different strength coaches. I kind of like take pieces from all of them and then apply it all to then go back to my hometown, go back to Ottawa and open a facility. I learned from all of these people, and then it wasn't until like my last internship. So now I'm working for a guy named Ben Prentice in Connecticut while I'm interning for him. This was the position that really kind of set me on my path. I think that like when you get into this industry, you have this idea that I did that like you want to be a strength coach and like athletes are who you want to work with. That was really the first situation where I really saw what truly being a strength coach was like. Well, I miss training everyday clients. Really what it came down to is it wasn't necessarily that I didn't want to be a strength coach anymore, and it wasn't necessarily that like I didn't like training athletes. It was more so just like I don't really care who it is that I work with, as long as the person that I work with is really committed and has goals and wants to get after it, whether it's losing a bunch of weight or gaining a bunch of muscle or reversing some health issue, then amazing athlete that is just kind of like checking off the box. So this kind of like opened up my eyes. And then on a deeper level, I realized that this whole time, whenever someone asked me what I did, I would always say I'm a strength coach, personal trainer. I don't really know why I did that, because I wasn't really a strength coach. It was almost like I had this negative association with just calling myself a personal trainer. Like, personal training is great because anybody can do it. I think that like calling myself a strength coach, like almost in my mind, like showed that I was better than just like your average personal trainer. And it's hard to differentiate yourself in this industry because it's so washed down. What I'm really trying to explain is that everything started changing for me once I came into terms of what exactly it was that I wanted to do. I was kind of like a chubby kid. I remember growing up, I was the kind of kid that would go swimming with his shirt on and tell people that I have a sun allergy, which is kind of sad when you think about it, but it is what it is. So part of the reason that I got into this industry, or part of the reason that I fell in love with training, is I started seeing such amazing results with my own body. That was addicting, and I loved it. And confident taking my shirt off. Look at all the confidence that it gave me, and I want to kind of like share that with other people. Like, I was super obsessive with that. Super restrictive habits, had a relationship with working out, like viewed it as like a chore and viewed it as something that I had to do in order to like maintain this physique that I wanted to have. And I think that unfortunately I kind of portrayed that onto my clients a little bit. And when I look back in hindsight, this is really because I had no balance. Like, all I cared about was what I looked like with my shirt off. What I'm trying to get to, how Virtu came about, was growth, where I went from caring about what people thought I looked like to caring about how I made people feel and how I impacted someone's lives. It's not because you should look good at the beach and look good with your shirt off, or like be a walking anatomy poster. It's really for your own self-confidence, and every single part of your life from a health standpoint will get better. I've always wanted to impact the lives of people that I get the chance to work with, but really just like, I'm at the best place that I've ever been. Like, I stopped caring so much about what people thought about what I looked like, and I started caring more about like how I made people feel. And I improved my relationship with nutrition. I got in touch with my spiritual side. I focus on like learning, growing, and expanding. I have purpose and I have devotion. This 8-year journey, it's like everything that I've learned so far, it's bundling it all up and like delivering it in a package. And how this all came to be was just how much my approach has changed. And I'm finally in like a really, really good spot. And I feel really confident with like my abilities to share what I know to help improve the lives of the people that I get the chance to work with. Yeah, it's been a long journey. I'm nowhere near done this journey. Anytime that you get to a point where you think that you know everything, that's how you know you have a lot more work to do. I think it's important to kind of illustrate and explain like where I came from and my growth over the last 8 years, to really dive in on like what this brand really means. That's my story, and I'm still growing. I'm still improving. I'm doing it with a lot more balance than I was before.